Today, I'm going to teach you how to paint khorgorath. So guys, as I said, I'm going to show you how to paint this little beauty called the khorgorath. Now, it looks dark here. It's not. It's simply, I've got crap lights. You'll see better once I get it down, better lighting. Okay? So yeah, I've gone back to kind of the stage of my old tutorials. When I first started the channel, I did complete time lapses of miniatures from start to finish. They're not the best. Honestly, they are not the best. Lighting was awful. I'd rather just not remember them. So yeah, I've done this differently. I've done it so the case of you'll get me talk about one colour, I'll show you where I'm going to pull it, and then I'll switch the camera off, I'll go to another. But you'll see that as the film progresses. There is a bit of a problem later in the video, but you'll come to that when you see it. And I hope you'll understand why it was a pain in the ass. So yeah, sit back, enjoy, and hopefully you learn. Well, not learn, but you get something out of this. And even if some of you lads out there that are painting the khorgorath for the first time, it's nice to paint. It just takes so goddamn long. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. And I shall see you once I put the camera down on the table. Right then, for the khorgorath, first colour we're going to do Mephiston red. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it on. Basically, we're going to base coat the skin. We're going to literally get it all over. Best thing for this, as always, 2 thin coats. Gonna get everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're going to be messy here, because obviously we can fix it up later. We just want to make sure we get a solid first bit. So I'll finish off the base coat, and we'll go from there. So then, the next step is we're going to add a shade of purple down on the bottom of the legs. So we're going to start with a very light glaze mixture of the Mephiston red and a bit of straight purple from Vallejo. What we're going to do is we're going to, like I said, we're going to make this into a glaze. Best tip I can say is check its opacity on your finger. If you can see through the nail, it's a good consistency. Now you want to make this thin, but you don't want to make it too thin that it doesn't have an effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about halfway up the leg. I'm just going to try and blend in this purple until we get to the bottom. We're going to do all this all the way around. On this leg, we're going to go to the other side. We're also going to lay some of this purple inside the little mark on the chest. So, now as you can see, blending in a bit of the purple to give more of like a pinky tone. That just, it helps to bring it out a bit more. I've also, off camera, added a bit more purple into this area. I wanted that to stand out more, this kind of like scar area. But now our next piece to do, our next thing, is we're going to do the shade. And for that, we're going to use null oil. And what we're going to do is we're going to completely cover the skin, scar, everything. Anything that you've painted already, we're going to cover. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shade it, let it dry, and I'm going to shade it again due to the fact I want a more darker look to the miniature. And then once we put that highlight on, it's going to look a hell of a lot better. So, as I said, we're literally just going to get a good old amount of shade, and we're literally just going to slap it all over the miniature. Now, like I said, we're going to completely cover this, and then we're going to let it dry. We're going to go to the second coat. So I'll finish this off and I'll get back to you. So now that the shade's dried, as you can see, a lot more depth to the model. What we're going to do now in the next step is we're going to take some Mephiston red and some of that purple, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the purple back into the scar, layer that in a bit, put some highlights on the feet. And we're going to put some highlights onto the skin with the Mephiston red. So what we'll do is, we'll start with the colour we're going to need less of first. So we'll start with the purple. What we're going to do is we're going to put this down into a layer consistency. Because you don't want it too much, otherwise the transition's just not going to be there. With the way I paint, I don't like things to be too stark, so that the highlights are not over the top. But obviously personal preference, everyone has their own styles and stuff like that. So, thin this down. We want to make sure you've got a nice point. And what we're going to do, down on these feet, just the tips of each one, just going to put a little bit of this purple, just to accentuate that purple colour. So there's one foot. I'll go over to the other foot, and then I'll put the purple also, because I'm going to make this purple really bright. I'm going to pop some purple into that center column, and once I've done the purple, I'll get back to you. So then, the next step, as I said, I'm going to grab the Mephiston red, and we're going to layer on, get some of these, highlighted up a bit. Now I've watered down the Mephiston red to get more of a layer consistency. Possibly could do a bit more watering down. Okay, let's try that. And what we're going to do is we're basically just going to go over all the areas and try and keep the recess. So I'll go over, do all the areas like that, and I'll come back. So then, the next step is to give it a final highlight on all the skin. Now what I'm going to do for this, due to the fact I don't have the colour that I'm after, I'm going to mix a bit of the Mephiston red and the Kislev flesh. That'll go onto the skin, and then round the icon on his chest, I'm going to use a bit of Cadian flesh tone. And then for the wrinkles right up on the top, just outside where the bone will be, I'm just going to do a very, very thin layer of that purple from Vallejo that we use on the icon itself. So, what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to apply it thinly on each area, around this area. So what I'll do is, I'll mix up some of the red and the Kislev flesh, and right then, next step for this is to highlight the skin even further up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of the original Mephiston red with some Kislev flesh, and I've pre-mixed it. As you can see, gives a very pinky tone kind of thing. But once on the model, and it's not going to be a lot of it, it's not going to stand out so much. Now around the scar-like icon on his chest, I'm just going to add a bit of Cadian flesh tone. That's going to make it pop more. And then for the top parts up here by the bone and all that sort of stuff, just to really highlight that kind of wound, I'm going to add some more of that purple that we use from Vallejo for the icon, put it up there. But I'm going to water it down very well, so it's more of a tint of the purple. What we're going to do with the highlighting is we're going to take the very, very highest. So what I'll do is I'll start off with scars. So like I said, just run a very, very smooth line of this down the scars. This will be just more to pick out that colour. Just get a bit more. Especially with this, you're going to be on a very, very nice thin tip. Very, you want it compact. Now these brushes have had it after many use, but we'll persevere. There you can see, makes that scar really pop. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go over all the rest, getting every little highlight, scars. What I'm going to do on the chest as well, I'm going to try and get really close to the muscle and just accentuate that highlight like that. Just bring it out a bit, and when I've done all that, I'll start back at the camera. So now that the skin is fully highlighted, as you can see, we put the Cadian flesh tone over the chest, makes that purple really stand out. Put some more highlights down on the feet, and I've put the purple at the top of the shoulders as well to accentuate them. The next step is to base coat the next few layers. First, we're going to put some Retributor armor on all of the armor, and then we're going to put corn red inside. We're going to put a layer of Ushabti bone on all of the bone, and then Abaddon black on any of the straps and on the skull. So first step will be the Retributor armor. Like I said, with this, we're going to get all over the armor. Making sure we get good coverage on this, because we're going to really dirty this up in a minute. So it looks bright at the moment, but once you stick the shade on it, it'll look a hell of a lot better. So what I'll do is I'll get on with the rest of this, and then I'll come back once I need to get to the next colour. So, there's all the gold done. As you can see, very nice, slowly done and all that. So the next step is we're going to base coat in the corn red into all the insets of the armour, and a little piece on the loincloth. So now with this, you want to be extra careful. Take your time while you're doing it, because you don't want to have to go back over the armour, or heaven forbid, go back over the skin. Having to go back over that skin is going to be really, really hard. So like I said, we're simply going to make sure we're nice as neat as possible, and just get this completely base coated. You see? So I'll go all over the model, and I'll come back. So then, next colour is going to be for all the skulls and the bones is Ushabti bone. And all we're simply going to do, as said, just going to get it on all the bone. Again, make sure you got decent coverage on this. It's going to need at least 2 coats, but be patient. And eventually it will build up, and you want to make sure you've got a solid colour on it. So I'll finish off all these. As I said, we're going to put it on the skulls there, so here, and then we're also going to do right on top on the back. So once I've done that, I'll come back. Right then, our next colour is going to be black. For me, it's going to be using Abaddon black. And what we're going to do is we're going to get this black, and we're going to put it onto the straps on the cloth. We're going to apply it to the claws. And we're also going to put a little bit at the edge of the teeth and kind of like blend it in, kind of like a jag. The way to do this, put it at the edge and just literally feather in the lines. You want it to look quite jaggedly. And we're going to do it on all the teeth, so that once we put the wash on there, it's going to add a nice little effect. So what I'll do is, I'm going to finish off all these, and I'll restart the camera. I'm also, after I've done this, because it's only a small part and I'm not going to show it, I'm just going to put some silver up here. For me, it's going to be machine gun metal for army painter. You could use lead belcher or something like that, kind of like a mid-dark steel or silver colour. So I'll finish off this black and I'll come back. Now that that's done, our next step is to wash all the areas, bar the black, with a little bit of Agrax Earthshade. What we're going to do is just basically give it a good old coat. Try not to get any onto the skin. And what you're going to do is you want to leave it to dry perfectly. And like I said, get onto all the areas that you've just base coated. And then after this, we will start work on highlighting up the wash, well, highlight up everything that we've just washed. Also, we will also be doing the tentacles on this side. And give them quite a nice, like, kind of grotesque look. So as you can see, the wash, especially on the Ushabti bone, has brought it out a lot. Now this is the same technique that I use in my bone video on how to do bones really quickly. Simple enough, because even after this, it doesn't really need a highlight. So what I'll do is, I'll go off, I'll finish all this, and then I'll restart up the camera. Now, while the shade's finally drying off on the bone and the armour and all that sort of stuff, we're going to work on the tentacles. Well, like, you know, yeah, tentacles, squiddy arm things. What we're going to do is, we're going to base coat it in Bugman's Glow. Yeah, good old over coverage. And then after, we're going to use the purple we used for the sigil, and we're going to put that on the inside of the tentacles. So I'll do that, and I'll come back. So, our next thing after we've done these tentacles, well, base coated them, is to add a little shade of Druzy Violet or purple, if you've got it in any other different brands. What we're going to do is we're just going to coat the whole thing. And what I'll do, I'll bring the purple and the Bugman's Glow together, so they have a bit more synergy together on there, instead of being really different. So let's get zoomed. Yeah, and what we're doing is just putting a coat of this on the inside. Now what I'm going to do, because now looking at it, I don't think that it would benefit from having the Druzy Violet all over. I am simply going to just put it on the tentacles themselves, and then after I've put this onto the tentacle, I'm going to wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to put a shade of Reikland Flesh shade over everything to really do bring in together the tentacles and like the upper parts of the tentacles as well. So I'll just let that dry, and then we'll do the Reikland Flesh shade after, and then on that, that's the tentacle complete. So when we come back, we'll do the edge highlighting pretty much on quite a lot of stuff, and the model's complete. Right then, a bit of a problem with the camera. Now, what I originally filmed was the edge highlighting process. That kind of went wrong. I'm unsure why, but the footage is lost, all that. So I thought what I'd do here is tell you what I actually did do. So, first off, the main one was the black, which I highlighted with an Eshin Grey. An Eshin Grey came down to just literally these little leather straps. I also put a bit of Eshin Grey up here onto the tassels. There's a bit on the feet as well. Can't really see it on this one because of the terrain that's on the board. But basically it's just stroking up methods to try and get like a hoof kind of texture. After that, it was highlighting up the red. Now I wanted a different highlight colour to the skin, due to the fact I wanted it to, you know, pop a bit more. So you can probably see it better. Oh, you can't really see. Well, it is. There's, it sounds a bit stupid, but there is Wild Rider Red. Simply running down there, and for the edge highlight, I haven't done any layering on that because I wanted to keep that red very dark, and I wanted it to look like aged and stuff. Now, if you're new to painting and edge highlighting isn't something you've done before, all you simply have to do is make sure you've not got a lot on your brush, and you're just going to take it parallel to the highest recess, or the highest point. Not highest recess, that'd be in. But yeah, highest point on the mod, on that particular area. So like I said, highlighted up that, highlighted up the edges of the belt, just a bit catch it there. Also did a bit up on this part here, so a little bit of red running through. The next colour after that was the what now? Would have been the bone. Now the bone is simple enough. Bone was basically going back over that ushabti bone and hitting up the most extreme, you know, points. As you can see, with not much work, you've got a very, very stark look, and it's real nice. With the teeth, as I said before, it was literally just, I'd put some lines in with the black, and I've highlighted them with the Eshin Grey, like I did with the belt. And then the final colour for the edge highlighting was Runefang Steel. Now, Runefang Steel, I've just basically put over that Retributor armour. Because I don't possess a bronze colour, which is what I was trying to achieve, I use the Retributor armour with Agrax Earthshade, or brown wash. It's not identical to bronze, but it really does work. It helps. I know that edge highlight of the Runefang, especially you can notice it over here, the Runefang just literally makes the armour pop. You know, that makes it really nice. After this point was literally just going over, checking if there was any spots on the model that needed fixing up and stuff, and then it got on to the final details. Like for this one in particular, I wanted the face to have a glowing kind of feel. It's simple enough. It's basically grabbing a yellow, thinning it down so it's like a glaze consistency, popping it in the socket, pop it on the icon on the skull. Once that's dried, just pop a little dots of orange in, and you have that nice glow look. And then the final piece for this was the terrain. Now the terrain's done exactly the same as the rest of my models. So it's the gravel I possess, washed it down with black, then highlighted with ushabti bone, which you can't really pick it up on this, but I think it's got a nice look to it. And then just static grass. This is using a mixture between 4mm and the 6mm. So you can't really see it from this angle, but if you look at it from other places, you can see that there's a few different lengths. So yeah, sorry about not being able to show the edge highlighting of this, due to some goddamn reason, I'm not too sure. But there is the khorgorath. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah, khorgorath. Yeah, if this film was any good for you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. This one was a pain to do, just because of the sheer size, and it's been a while since I've done this style of recording. But if people are wanting to see this thing, I'll do a bit more along those lines. So yeah, like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, because it'll help me understand what I'm doing as well, you know, if there's good and bads. Also, pop over to Facebook, go on to Pyro Painting Studios, and any kind of like work in progresses, especially with this lad, I did one on the skin. The first imagery of the skin is on there. Yeah, so any work in progress you'll see there as well, and you may even see like hints and hints of the next video. Until the next time I make a video, see ya.